Let's now look at a tracking stick. So this is one of the aids we as trackers may use. We've looked at some earlier in the course in terms of the optics, such as binoculars, etc., that we can utilize as a tracker. One of the most useful tools as a tracker we can possibly equip ourselves with is a simple tracking stick. A lot of hikers might be carrying something already, such as a walking stick. Now a walking stick, a lot of these ones have increments on them that allow us to measure certain aspects of a track. So we can actually turn this into, say, the width of a heel, the overall width of a foot, and then the overall width of a stride. Cool. So that's one way of using just a conventional walking stick as a tracking stick. So these become a physical measurement metric that we can capture. We should also obviously measure them with a tape measure and record that on a sketch diagram so that we've got that information correctly and accurately measured. These are the on the spore line pursuit type of ready reckoner. Okay, it's a ready reckoner. Here's my heel width of my subject, here's my overall length, and here's his or her stride length. Cool. I'm going to show you how we do that in a second. So here's one of the ones that I use a lot. This is just a simple piece of wooden dowel you get from a hardware shop. Now, and it's got 3 rubber bands or hair tie type elasticated sort of markers on it. So overall length is maybe around about 1.2 meters. Okay, more so it's a comfortable walking height for me. Now, this front one, as you'll see, when I'm looking at a spore line such as this, I place this front rubber band down, and between the tip and the rubber band, that would measure the stride length of this particular individual. Keep in mind the stride length is going to be fairly consistent. If the subject is walking in a baseline, whether it's a human animal or another type of animal, if it's in baseline, its stride length is going to remain fairly consistent. The only influences upon it are going to be the vegetation, rocks, and obstacles it's moving over. But by and large, it's going to be fairly consistent. The second part of the rubber band system is to measure from that gait or stride measure back to the rear. So I'm getting the overall length measurement, and then I can also measure the heel width of a human boot print. Okay. Keep in mind the way a human being who is wearing Western footwear would move is generally heel heavy. Heel heavy. Most of the other mammals are toe down. A human moves into that modality when they're moving fast through soft material and substrate, but predominantly when they're moving fast, or if they're a barefoot natural walker. If they're used to wearing artificial footwear, as in footwear period, they will be generally a heel strike first type of imprint on the ground, and that's where we use this heel measure, because the heel cup is going to be one of the most dominant bits of spore we repeatedly detect. Okay? Then it's handy to have the overall length. That helps me confirm that this is at least by and large the same subject, and then it'll add to my context picture of information I've collected along the length of the spore line, and then the overall length of gait and stride. Okay, I can also measure off that pitch, so I can measure the pitch in terms of the foot as it's splayed outwards from the line of travel. So I use my tracking stick to demarcate, so clearly I can see the approximate line of travel, and then the left foot, in this case, would be splayed outwards from that line of travel at a particular pitch. The right foot, correspondingly, would also be away from the midline at a particular pitch. So if I drew a central line down through the spore itself, the full print, I'm going to get a measurement of that distance away from here. I can measure that as an angle, or I can measure it just as a linear length. Whatever works for you. It gives me another metric to grip up this particular individual's modality and locomotion nuances as that individual moves across the landscape. So that's what we use a tracking stick for. Really, really useful to get our eyes tuned in for where that next bit of spoor might be. If this is the heel cup of my last bit of spoor, this will focus in my eyeballs. Okay, it's going to be somewhere in there. If I know that this was a right foot, okay, I know that this next one is going to be a left foot print. So that's going to be somewhere around about where that pitch variation is, and just off in that direction, and it will allow me to tune in to that particular spot. So I'm not searching randomly, I'm searching a very precise location based on what I've observed to this point. Gait length, or stride length, pitch, and baseline movement of that subject. So that's how we use a tracking stick.